I've been a detective for 15 years. In all that time, I've dealt with assaults, burglaries, missing persons, even the occasional murder. But nothing has ever stayed with me like the Emily Carter case. Not because it was the hardest case I ever worked, but because it was the only case I can't fully remember. Emily Carter was 23 years old when she vanished. It's a small town. She has no history of running away. She has no enemies. There's no obvious reason for her to disappear. One minute she's walking home after meeting friends, and the next, she was gone. The town went into panic mode almost immediately. Everyone knows everyone around here. A missing person case like this didn't happen often. Not here. Not in a place like this. For 2 weeks, every waking moment was spent searching for Emily, conducting interviews, door-to-door inquiries, CCTV reviews. We had search teams looking everywhere, but nothing. No suspects, no witnesses, no leads. It was like she simply vanished from the face of the earth, and the longer it went on, the more obsessed I became. I stopped sleeping properly. I stopped going home. Most nights I ended up asleep at my desk, surrounded by case files and cold coffee. And that's when I started seeing her. The first time was in the CCTV room. I was reviewing footage from a petrol station near the edge of town, watching the same few hours over and over again, frame by frame, looking for anything that I'd missed. Then for a split second, I saw her, Emily, standing in the footage, looking directly at me, not at the camera, at me. I blinked and she was gone. I convinced myself it was just exhaustion, nothing more. But after that, she started appearing everywhere. Standing at the end of hallways, reflected in mirrors, watching from across empty car parks. Once, while driving home after a 16-hour shift, I glanced into the rearview mirror, and for a moment, she was sitting in the back seat, just staring at me. I nearly drove off the road. The strange thing was, she never spoke, she never moved, she never chased me. She just watched, as though she was waiting for me to understand something. A few days later, we held another briefing. The investigation had stalled completely. Nobody knew where to search next. Then, without thinking, I heard myself say it. Check the old quarry. The room went silent. One of the officers looked at me. Why the quarry? I opened my mouth to answer, but I couldn't, because I had no idea. There was no evidence pointing there, no witness statements, nothing. Yet somehow it felt important. The search team went anyway. And a few hours later they found something. A red scarf, buried beneath leaves and mud. It was Emily's scarf. The same scarf she'd been wearing the night she disappeared. Everyone praised me for the lead, but I felt sick. Because I couldn't explain how I knew. That night the dreams started. Not normal dreams, just fragments. Wet earth, a shovel, rain, a woman crying, hands shaking, then darkness. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, with no idea what any of it meant. Each night the dreams became clearer, and each day Emily appeared more often, sometimes standing at the end of corridors in the station, sometimes outside my office window. Always watching, always silent. Then came the thing that truly scared me. The scarf had been found at the quarry. The first real breakthrough we had had in 2 weeks. Everyone was celebrating, but I couldn't stop thinking about one question. Why had I suggested the quarry? There'd been no witness statements mentioning it, no CCTV, no evidence, nothing. Yet somehow I'd known to look there. At first I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was luck, a gut feeling. Detectives have them sometimes. But the feeling wouldn't go away, so I started digging, not into Emily's movements, but into my own. I went back over everything from that night she disappeared. Duty logs, phone records, receipts, anything that could help me account for my time. And that's when I found it. A location entry on my personal phone, 2:17 a.m, near the old quarry. I stared at the screen, certain there had to be some mistake. But there wasn't. The date matched, the timestamp matched. My phone had been there, and I had absolutely no memory of it. I started looking deeper, and the more I searched, the worse it became. There were gaps, missing hours I couldn't account for, phone calls I can't remember making, conversations I didn't remember having, entire sections of that night that simply didn't exist in my memory. And for the first time since the investigation began, I wasn't just searching for Emily. I was searching for the truth about where I'd been. I stopped sleeping altogether, because every time I closed my eyes, Emily was there, standing in the rain, watching me, waiting. A week later, I drove to the quarry alone. I told no one where I was going. A part of me already knew what I'd find. I just wasn't ready to admit it. The quarry was deserted, silent, the same place from my dreams. I followed a narrow path between the trees until I reached an old abandoned shed. The moment I saw it, something inside me broke. Because I recognised it, not from the investigation, from memory, real memory, the kind you can't hide from. Behind the shed was a patch of disturbed ground. I found something leaning against the wall. It was an old rusty shovel. I felt my stomach drop. Then the memories came back. Not all at once, just pieces. Emily crying. Emily begging.
Please.
Rain hitting the roof of the shed. The sound of the shovel cutting into wet earth. And the last thing she ever said.
Please don't do this. Please.
I fell to my knees because at that moment I finally understood. Emily hadn't been haunting me. She wasn't a ghost. She wasn't a hallucination. She was my guilt. The part of my mind that refused to let me forget. The part that knew the truth long before I did. After 15 years as a detective, I finally solved the Emily Carter case. The problem was, the person who I was looking for had been standing in front of me the entire time. Because the person who took Emily Carter, the person who buried her, the person I'd spent 2 weeks hunting, was me.